I was alone. I found myself in an empty room. I looked around me at a cube-shaped room. The walls, the floor, and the ceiling were all gray, smooth, utterly featureless. There were no windows and certainly no exit door. I saw no light source, but the room was lit and I cast no shadow in any direction. The air stood still with boredom as if it expected me to provide it with interest. My ears caught not a hint of an echo. For one dizzy moment, I thought I was about to fall towards the ceiling. A moment later, gravity pulled me down like a weight. Eventually, I got used to the sight of the room and I stood up. I ran my hand over the walls, examined the corners. I walked in circles, aimlessly round and round. When the walking made the room feel unbearably small, I stopped and found myself sitting in the center of the room. I closed my eyes. 3 counts inhale, 3 counts hold, 3 counts exhale, and again, and again. I was alone. I had no sense of time, and when I opened my eyes, the room was no longer empty. I found an object before me, a wooden cube-shaped box, silent, expressionless. When I stood beside it, I noticed it reached almost to my knee. At first, I didn't want to touch it. I was afraid that if I tried, the box would disappear. I examined it from every angle, from every distance, wondering if I was imagining it. Finally, I reached out my hand and touched it, and the box remained. It was solid, rough, warm. I picked it up. It was medium-sized, not heavy. It felt empty. Since there was nothing else but air in the room, and like other boxes, its value lay within, the only thing I could do was open it, to check if it was truly empty. Maybe inside there would be an answer. I tried to find an opening, a hinge, but there was none. I tried to look for screws or nails, but there were none of those either apparently. The 6 sides were glued together. I tried grasping it from different angles and using friction to pull and push in different directions to find a weak spot, but there was none. I placed the box in the center of the room, examined it. Without thinking, I kicked it. Not hard, but it hurt. It didn't help, and my frustration grew. I imagined myself talking to the box, politely asking it to open. For a moment, I hoped the box would understand and respond, but I didn't really think it would work. In the end, I did the first thing I thought of, the last resort I wanted to take. I threw the box towards the wall. My first throw was ridiculous, weak. I was afraid the sound of the impact would be loud and oppressive, but it was bearable. So I slammed the box against the wall again, and again, harder. I tried to make a corner of the box hit the wall. That seemed like the weak point in the box's structure. Slam after slam, blow after blow. I think I counted about 30 of them, but I think I skipped some in my count. Finally, one of the sides began to come loose. At this point, I switched to delicate work. I stood with the box held between my legs, bent down, and began to widen the gap in the box with my hands. I managed to slip 2 fingers between the loose side and the one next to it, and I started to pull. The glue was strong, but all the box demanded was persistence, and I was in no hurry to go anywhere. Eventually, I managed to separate one side, which I tossed aside, and I placed the box on its opening. I jumped on it and stood on it, my back aching, my hands scraped. At that moment, I felt for the first time that something was working in my favor. I was alone. I took a moment to breathe, jumped back onto the gray floor, and turned the box over. I looked inside and found nothing. I didn't expect to find another object, but maybe an inscription, letters, a clue, something, anything. I felt frustration rising in me again, and then I thought of the side of the box that remained on the floor. I picked it up too and examined it, but it also told me nothing. Tired, confused, despairing, I didn't see what else to do with the box. I lay on the floor, took it, and put it on my head. It was the best way I had to shield my eyes from the light that never ceased to shine in the room. A little of it seeped in, but I managed to find some calm. And so I remained idle for a long time. My back ached from the flat, hard floor. My chest ached where the side of the box rested on it. My hands found no rest and drummed on my hip bones. I was alone, and so I lay there until I started to go mad. The only thing I still knew how to do was to start humming. At first, I just let my vocal cords filter air. I felt my chest moving the weight of the box on it, slowing every rise and accelerating every fall. After some time, I started to go through all the syllables I knew. Whole sentences in complete gibberish, utterly meaningless. It was meditative in one way or another. I prattled, I babbled, I hummed, and then it happened. A drop fell on me, between my eyes. The surprise made my whole body jump. The box rolled to my side. The drop left a cool, wet, inexplicable spot on me. I collected myself for a moment, jumped to my feet, straightened the box so its opening faced the ceiling, and looked inside. It wasn't exactly empty anymore. At the bottom, I saw a substance, perhaps a few coalesced drops, partly liquid, partly solid, gray in color, vibrating slightly when I moved the box. I stared at it. I didn't recognize it. I sent the tip of a finger to examine the substance, and it came back moist and warm. I bent down with my head into the box, approached the liquid, and smelled. I took a long inhale through my nose and didn't recognize even a memory of a smell, not even of the wood the box was made of. In frustration, I released the air through my mouth in a long sigh with my head still in the box. And as I sighed, I saw the drop of substance move slightly. I thought the resonance from my sigh made the liquid dance, so I tried it again. I sighed, I shouted, I whistled. And each time the substance moved a little, but it wasn't vibrating to the sound frequencies. It took me a moment to realize that the drop of substance was growing, expanding, spreading. So I continued. I made sounds into the box and saw the gray mass turn from a few drops into a small puddle. I made primitive sounds. I must have looked like a prehistoric man hearing his own echo talking back to him from a pit. After some time, I started using words and the substance continued to spread, but now its edges began to take on different hues, on one side a grayish blue, on another a faded pink, on a third a touch of yellow. I started telling the box stories. At first simple, short ones, a few sentences about my time in the square room. Slowly they developed. I remembered things that had happened to me over the last few days, thoughts that had been sitting in my head but I hadn't had time to process. Finally, I told the box about myself, who I am, why I am, ideas and wonders that accompany me, some of them for years. As the stories became more complex, the colors became brighter, and the box slowly filled with the substance. And my stories didn't run out. I told the box about happy and sad experiences, about people who hurt me and people who hugged me, about regrets and secrets. And the box listened with full attention. It's a box, after all. It doesn't engage in pleasantries, nor does it need bathroom breaks. I was alone and I told stories. And so we continued, I leaning against the wall, my hand resting on the box, telling stories, and telling, and telling. Every so often, I shook the box and examined the substance inside, moving from side to side, as if it were nodding in colorful agreement. And in the end, when I thought I might have said everything I had to say, the substance in the box filled it to its brim, and some of it began to spill out of the box. A trail, partly blue and partly orange, flowed over the lip of the box and made its way to the floor of the room. I followed the trail towards the floor, my head bowed. The moment the substance reached its destination, I lifted my eyes. Could it be that I had missed it? How long had it been standing there? In the middle of the wall opposite me was, silent, expressionless, a door with a sign, exit. Subscribe, like, share, and comment for more stories like this.